When you're just starting out with a new game project, it is the most fun by far. There's nothing but endless possibilities. Things come together very quickly at first, and you haven't even made any bugs yet. It's very, very easy to be in love with game dev when you're in the early stages of making a game. But later on in development, with all of the bugs and all of the working features that just don't work as well in reality as you thought they would on paper, plus just an endless list of to-do items that aren't really all that fun to work on, the pressure, marketing, critical feedback, and the emotional part that goes along with all of that, right? Because if you're making a game alone or with a small team, then you're heavily invested in your game. It means way more to you than some task that you'll get at your day job. You care, which makes the mess harder to look at. And because of that, it can be really easy to quit. And even if you don't quit, it can be really easy to start to hate the process of working on your game, or at least certain aspects of it. And today, I just want to share a little bit about what I've learned and hopefully make your game dev journey a little bit easier. Because making games is a long, long road, and ideally, you want to finish your game, you want it to be successful, but you also want to enjoy the process of working on the game. So this is going to be another deep one because we're going to talk about how you can completely change the outlook that you have. And that's going to affect the actions that you'll take, like quitting or persevering, which ultimately will affect the course of the rest of your entire life. Sounds fun, right? So I'll start with a personal example from when I was younger. I'm 36 now, I think. So high school was a really long time ago for me, but I remember it like it was yesterday because of how much I hated high school. I really, really hated high school. And now that I'm an adult, and of course hindsight is 2020, I can look back on my high school experience and know with 100% certainty that I am 100% responsible for how miserable I was there. There was no one else, there were no other factors, it was just me. How much I hated it was my fault. I could have enjoyed high school, but at some point when I was young, I made the decision that I hated school and that it was something I just needed to get through. And then when it was done, the rest of my life could start and it would just be so much better. And because of that, I stuck with my really small group of friends. I didn't participate in any extracurricular activities. I didn't watch any games. I didn't go to dances. I didn't try to get a girlfriend. I slept through most of my classes and I put in the very bare minimum effort that was needed to just not fail. And all of that was my choice. That's 4 years of my life that could have been totally, totally different if one little thing had changed. If instead of walking in there and being like, me, all it would have taken was for me to walk in there and say, okay, this is 4 years of my life. How can I make the best of it? How can I make this fun? That's all it would have taken. Every once in a while, I like to talk about mindset on this channel, and when I do, this is the kind of thing that I'm talking about. I'm talking about the way that you think about your circumstances. Now, since I gave you an example of the old me, I'll also give you an example of the current me. And in case you're new here, I'm not solo. I work on these things with my wife, Nikki, and she's the one that's behind the camera doing a lot of the work for Sasquatch B Studios. But for my example, I'm talking about me here. So two things, okay? YouTube videos and games. We have a Discord server with over 800 members. We have a Patreon. We get a lot of emails. We push out a lot of videos and those videos get a lot of comments. I get requested for help with the tutorials that I make. And I almost forgot to mention that we have a podcast as well. My whole point here is there's a lot to do. 2 videos per week and a podcast is a lot to work on top of working on a game. And there are certain days where I feel completely overwhelmed and bogged down and like I have built something that is trapping me. And if you take all of that and then you add an emotional element on top of that, like for example, if I were to get a really critical comment, whether it's a comment about my game or one of the videos I made, or just about the decisions that I've made regarding how I spend my time professionally. And I get a few of those from, I think, well-intentioned people. If I take those comments and take them to heart and let it crush me, I will never accomplish what it is that I want to accomplish, which is to build an amazing game dev community and make games and support my family financially with both of those avenues. So there are days where it can be very easy for me to have a very negative mindset around all of this and be like, they're right. Who the f am I to be making these kinds of videos, giving people advice and making a game on top of all of that? Maybe I should just do YouTube, or maybe I should drop YouTube and just make a game. It's exhausting to work towards something when it feels like every step you need to take is somehow the wrong step. But I didn't say all of this to whine. I'm not high school Brandon anymore. And that means I have control over how I view this situation. I have control over how I think about it. Example, I get to figure out how to manage all of this. I get to have a YouTube channel and make a game at the same time. I get to learn how to juggle a lot of tasks. That's a really good skill to have. Versus I have to do so much. Look at this mountain of stuff that I have to do. Example, I can't do this. This is too much for me. Versus I'm a badass mother game dev. I got this. You can be vain when you're talking to yourself if it makes you feel better. It's totally fine. How you think about your circumstances will affect the actions that you will take. Example, no one's going to play my game, there's too much competition. Versus, all right, how do I get my game seen by millions of people? Which streamers would play it? How do I get really big YouTubers to feature my game on their channels? How do I get journalists to play my game and write articles about it? Which of those two people do you think is going to succeed? So I said all of that so that I can say this. If there is one key to finishing your game and having it actually turn out successful, and on top of that, it will help you enjoy the process of creating your game from start to finish, it is learning how to tame your mind and make it think the way you want it to think. Because again, the way that you think is going to affect the actions that you're going to take. And the actions that you take are going to affect how your game dev journey plays out. So how do you do that? How do you tame your mind and make it think the way that you want it to think? If you can take the phrase that I'm about to say to heart, it's going to change the course of the rest of your entire life. You do that one day at a time. What does that mean? Your journey as a developer is a very long one. Just for one game, in most cases, it's going to take you at least a couple of years to actually finish.
One eternity later.
That is a lot of days of battling and struggling and bug fixing and dealing with criticism and dealing with fears and what ifs and learning and feeling humbled on good days and feeling completely worthless or inadequate on bad days. All of that shit that you need to do, that mountain of work that's stressing you out, right now, it's all just in your mind. It is stuff that is going to need to be done. But right now, today, it's just a hypothetical because it's not something that's happening to you right now. It literally does not exist in reality right now, except as a concept in your mind. No one else knows about this mountain of work that you have to do and this struggle except for you. Nobody knows how monumental this task is going to be except for you. No one is stressing about it except for you. Everyone else is out there stressing about their own hypotheticals. Now, this doesn't mean that you don't plan for the future. It means you plan for the future to the best of your ability, and then you take the best steps that you can today to follow that plan. As cheesy as it sounds, the key to finishing your game and having it be as successful as it can possibly be and enjoy the process from start to finish is to put 100% of your creativity and energy into your work today and take all the stress and all of the expectations and all of the fears and all of the what ifs and put them aside. You've planned, you're taking action. Follow your plan and trust that it will work out because you're going to figure out how one day at a time. That's all I got for you guys. I hope you enjoyed. Like the video, subscribe, all that good stuff if you want to show some love for the channel. And be sure to let me know your thoughts and any additional tips that you might have for future devs that come across this video down below. Bye. I want to give a very special thank you to all of our Hall of Fame patrons: Jakob Yondok, Christopher Nichols, Zondra Kessler, Fontaine Wade, Brainwaves to Binary, Couch, KB at Bird Tech Games, and Ian Oral, as well as our early access patrons: Ken Waite, Mason Crow, Mr. D, Liquid Egg, Alexander Prestis, Jude Greaves, Felipe Gomez dos Santos, Ober, Francesco Latamata, Bill Guo, Alone on Mars, Alex Friedman, Jenny Rathliff, Neil, Ben Kerberger, Lucky Tales, Aiden Serve, Adarsh Kumar, Merler, and Anastasia Shamalina. If you choose to support us on Patreon, you can get early access to all of our YouTube videos, monthly alpha builds, and more.